All right, the first approach we're going to cover for styling our components is using vanilla or plain CSS. It's not something that I recommend because there are a few useful CSS libraries out there like Bootstrap or Material UI. So writing all these styles by hand is just time consuming and tedious. But if you don't like to use a CSS library like Bootstrap, let me show you how you can style your components using vanilla CSS. So back to our project. First, we go to main.tsx. This is where we imported Bootstrap. So let's remove this line. Now, back in the browser, all the styling is gone. So we're going to style our list group component from scratch. So here in the components folder, we add a new file called listgroup.css. So right next to our component. Now, you've probably seen this guy before. His name is John Smith. He's a superstar developer with strong opinions. John hates the fact that I've put this CSS file next to our component file. He argues that all CSS files should be in a separate folder called styles. Now, let me tell you what I think about this situation. In programming, we have a concept called cohesion, which means things that are related should be next to each other and things that are unrelated should be separate. In this case, our CSS file and our TSX or component file are highly related. Our component file is going to be dependent on the CSS file, so our list group will look the way it's supposed to. Now, if we separate these two files and put the CSS file in a separate folder like styles, tomorrow if you want to take this component and use it in a different project, we have to go to two different folders and cherry pick different files. Not the best way. But with this structure, if you want to reuse this component in another project, we can simply come and grab these two files and take them somewhere else. Now, we can take this to the next level and add a new folder here called list group. And in this folder, we'll have all the materials or all the building blocks of this component. So we have a CSS and a TypeScript file. So this is the approach that I personally prefer. But if you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. Now let's go to our component file and import our CSS file on the top. So from the current folder, we're going to grab listgroup.css. Now, in this file, we're going to write our styles. So we add a new class called listGroup. Here I'm going to set list style to none. Back to the browser, refresh. Our application broke because as part of moving this file, one of our import statements is not working anymore. So we need to go back to our app component and fix this issue. So back to the app component. This is the issue. So we go to the components folder, then we go to the list group folder and import list group. Now, this structure is a little bit ugly. We can solve this problem by creating an index file in this folder. So here in the list group folder, we add a new file called index.ts. In this file, first we need to import our list group from the current folder, and then we export it as a default object. With that, we can go back to our app component and simply reference the list group folder without the list group file. So by default, if we don't supply a file and here we're referencing a folder, the compiler will look for a file called index. Okay. So this is how it works. Now back to the browser. Okay. The bullet points are gone because of the style that I just applied. Now we can come back here and add more styles like padding of 0. And with this, the left padding is gone. We can spend more time on styling this, but that's really unnecessary and outside the scope of this course. So if you want to style your components using plain or vanilla CSS, this is how you do it. You write all the styles for a component in a CSS file and import it on the top.